need more help from the rest of our region, our communities outside Salt Lake City. The state needs to certainly lead the way in encouraging or even mandating other communities to also provide resources, because Salt Lake, and certainly not the West Side, needs to take that burden on all on its own.
Mr. Palmer, we turn to you. Talk about alternative programs to emergency services.
Yeah, you know, I'm a really big fan of the Ambassador program. I've sat down to lunch with them to find out what they needed. And I'll tell you the truth, we funded them at the 11th hour. The program was about to go away on North Temple. The Downtown Alliance has done a really good job of extending that program to other neighborhoods, even though that's outside of their target neighborhood. So I really am grateful for that. They are some of the best folks on getting people into services. Where there are gaps is comprehensive connectiveness and the ability for them to get people into those services sometimes. I think my opponent here should disclose when he's talking for the VOA, because he works for the VOA. And there's not a conflict of interest statement, as far as I know yet, that he does work for the VOA. So he's in those conversations about getting them more money. We pay them the money from the city. We also pay the ambassadors. But I'll tell you one story about the ambassadors. When they go to somebody and they find that magical moment when that person they've been working with them for weeks, and that person finds the moment where they want to go into services, they're not on the preferred list for the VOA, and so they cannot get them into detox sometimes because they have one bed for non-referral organizations, and we need to change that comprehensively. We need to change the entire system and hold people accountable.
Okay, we now move to Mr. Pui. You have the next 90 seconds.
Yeah, for sure, we need to fund more of the downtown ambassadors. We were asking the city actually to fund it, and it just happened at the last minute, as it was said a minute ago. Not all calls are police calls, right? And we need to have the ability to help the people in the streets with other services. ARPA, you know, the federal money that's coming to the state could help us on this. Let me tell you about what happens in the North Temple area, and if you've driven through that area, you know the business owners are paying for private security. They're paying for private security because we are lacking leadership in our city. We are not doing what we're supposed to be doing to help those in the streets and to help our business owners and to help those neighbors. I know neighbors near me that have to pick up human waste. I have picked up needles from a school ground, and we need to do better to help those people that want help. We need to have the resources, and this lack of leadership and urgency that we have in our city hall right now at the moment is just stunning. We need to leverage the resources, shake the trees, make it happen.
Mr. Swaby, you have the last 90 seconds on this topic, alternate programs to helping public safety officers.
Thank you. The latest police statistics came out in terms of their calls. About 250 calls a week they get that are homeless-related calls. That's 1,000 calls a month on a short-staffed police force. Yes, we need alternate responses, and I have been one of the key advocates to get the downtown ambassadors over to North Temple, and they've done such a great job. I'd like to see that program expanded throughout the city, which it partially has been on a very small scale. And so you know, I was the only person in this field here that made public comments supporting the funding for that, other than Councilmember Ferris, who is on the council already. We've also, North Temple, I think, is a great microcosm for the city in terms of the issues that we had and how we dealt with it. We need the ambassadors because they provide a uniform presence on the street that can also provide services to the homeless, to the addicts, as well as be a source of confidence to the neighbors and the business owners. And we also need private security too, to help fill the void that the police cannot fill right now, to protect our parks and other public spaces. I think if we're able to do this right, we could actually use those two programs to help supply chain of employees for the police department.
Okay, thank you. We're now going to transition to the homeless population. I'd like to know from you, the candidates, what is the number one thing you want to provide for the unsheltered population of Salt Lake City? Mr. Palmer, you are the first on this one, but I do need to warn all of you, due to time constraints, we only have 1 minute response for this question.
What I want to do in the city for our homeless population is stop coming from a outputs model to an outcomes model. That's the most important thing we can do, if I could say it in 1 minute, we need coordination at much higher level than we have it now. I told you about the problem with being able to get people into services because of a bureaucratic rule. But when we talk about, I gave out this many needles, we served this many blankets, we did all of these things. Yes, thank you. Those are your outputs. What are the outcomes? Did we get more people into services? Have we created more housing? Have we been comprehensive about how we're getting people into a housing voucher, but also wrapping around the services so that they don't lose that housing and find themselves back on the street? Those are the outcomes that we need.
Okay, we're going to have to cut you off on that note. Now 1 minute to Mr. Pui on the top priority for dealing with homelessness.
We need to have some sort of a sense of urgency about this issue. Housing is the main problem we're lacking right now, but it has to be paired with services. It seems like we are on the defensive all the time. We are towing their vehicles right now. We are towing their big vehicles, take everything that they have. We are bulldozing over camps. And at the same time, our city is managing to piss off the neighbors also and pitting neighbors against homeless people and those are unsheltered. We need to have a sense of urgency about this issue. We need to actually find solutions for housing that is paired with services. We can do better in our city hall.
Mr. Swaby, you are up for 1 minute on your priorities for the unsheltered population.
The number one priority is to get them off the street. Winter is coming. I've talked to various people within the city and providers, and there really isn't a plan other than hotel vouchers, which hasn't been very successful. In fact, it's led, the program last year has led to the conversion of the Airport Inn, but that won't take place for another year, and we're short on space. I think we need to come to terms with the idea of possibly sanctioned camping in certain spots. Denver has a program like this where they move that spot every 6 months. We have an equity problem in Salt Lake City, and we've got 525 deeply affordable units scheduled to come to the west side of Salt Lake close to District 2 in the next 2 years. So we need to look at different solutions, and we need to get them off the street.
Mr. Ferris, the final 1 minute on this topic goes to you.
Homelessness is definitely near and dear to my heart. It is what I do professionally. I do consider myself an expert on the topic. My friend Mr. Palmer is correct. I do work for the VOA. I have recused myself from any votes concerning the VOA on the city council level. To be able to impact our homelessness issues, the only true outcome that we can hope for is to provide affordable housing. We have to have housing to be able to place people in. If we don't have that housing, because the only ultimate solution for homelessness is a home, and without that housing, we don't have that. The Airport Inn is slated to open this month as 100 units of permanent supportive housing. This is a great thing. This allows us the wraparound services that these people will need. It can definitely help to transition them from experiencing homelessness to being productive members of society, being supported through that transition with all the right case management.
All right, we do have time for one more question. We do need to keep the answers to 1 minute and 10 seconds for this one. We all know about the historic drought we are experiencing here in the state of Utah. So what do you think needs to be done to help with our water decline? Mr. Pui, you have the first minute 10.
Our city needs to do better on this. We are going to be growing a lot, and water is one of our main resources here. Rebates to help replace your sprinkler system controller is something that has been done and the state is doing, but our city needs to do more on this. Helping with drought-resistant plants on strip by the street is also very important. I envision a city that puts drought-tolerant plants in our parks so our neighbors can see that it can be done and it is pretty. I envision a city that uses less water in our own buildings too, that we spend less water watering even the strips on parks, but we can enjoy the park also. I envision a city that understands the urgency of this issue, that helps the neighbors in the west side and across the state to understand that we live in a desert and that water is a precious resource.
Mr. Swaby, how do we control water use in time of drought? A minute 10.
So we have to recognize that the level of our lake is going to be the future of our water. If we let that get away from us now, we're going to be in unbelievably big trouble down the road. So one way that we can address this, and I was refuted on this in the past, but we can collect water ourselves, up to 250 gallons. So let's use those rain barrels and collect our own water. That's something that ordinarily goes to waste. We also need to look as a city at bigger things, for instance, secondary water, which is something that happens in Davis County, where you use different water, non-culinary, for agricultural use, your lawn, your flowers, your plants. In South Jordan, they're looking at another water reuse program, and so we need to look at that. But most important is to make sure that we don't divert as much water as we are from the Jordan River. We need that water to get into the lake, otherwise we're going to have a persistent drought season for a long time to come.
Mr. Ferris, you have 70 seconds. How do we address water usage in time of drought?
Agricultural use is definitely the highest utilizer of water in our area. Although Salt Lake City has done a really good job of planning ahead so that we have enough water resources available to us to suffice for the next 50 years of projected growth, we still have to do more to go beyond that. With increasing prospects of droughts, less and less rain coming down, less snow, we have to be able to increase and improve our conservation measures. We have to charge a fair and honest cost for our water. We do live in a high desert, and our water is precious.
Okay. Mr. Palmer, we will turn for you for the final thoughts on managing water during a drought.
One of the dangers of a drought is, as Nigel mentioned, that lower lakes also bring pollution from dust plumes coming off of Utah Lake and the Great Salt Lake. One of the things we can do best is educate. The University of Utah put together a program where they were educated people about your shower heads. We use a lot of water in our showers. You can reduce water by shower heads. We can incentivize people to replace their shower heads by educating first. Also, it's really inexpensive to replace that shower head, and we can incentivize by making sure that people that maybe can't afford it get some. I have pulled out my entire lawn out of my front yard, and I'm putting in native plants as I go along. I'm not the best gardener, but I am the best, possibly the best water saver, because I haven't watered a lawn for 3 years now. So we can make sure that we're educating people about native plants. That's less water usage. And the city needs to start investing in making sure our parks have benches with small gardens and native plants, so we can reduce the need for water to water the so many lawns that we have at our parks as well.
Okay, we are now at the end of our debate. Each candidate has 1 minute in time for a closing statement. It was determined before the debate the first closing statement would go to Mr. Ferris.
First, I'd like to say thank you very much again to ABC4, CW30, our sponsors, for hosting this. I've spent the last 18 years in this community working hard to take concrete steps to improve it every day. From creating the Groove in the Grove event in Poplar Grove 10 years ago to be able to build a stronger and more informed community, advocating for, applying for grants for, and following through for the installation of improved and enhanced crosswalks across 900 West. These steps I would definitely love to continue to be able to, in my career now at City Council, as short as it has been, and I can only do that with your help. So I ask that you rank me first in this first of Salt Lake City's ranked choice elections. Thank you very much.
1 minute closing statement now for Mr. Palmer.
I want to thank Channel 4 for having us here. The results-oriented community activism, I think, is what sets me apart from my opponents. I've worked diligently for my community for a really, really long time, and we can come with a list of problems for you, and that is something that we definitely do in campaigns. But what I'm hoping I can influence people to do is don't just vote against the things that you're having a problem with. The reason that we put on our website our policies as a vision, because I want people to understand that we can have a vision together. I am born and raised by so many of the mentors in my community, and they shared a vision with us and taught us how to move our neighborhood forward. There are plenty of results on my website. I can't list them all, but I can tell you right now, for 25 years, it's about results.
Okay, we have run out of time for your closing statement. We now turn to Mr. Pui. Your final message to voters.
Thank you, ABC4, for this opportunity. Thank you, the candidates here, for this debate. I love this opportunity to bring about my thoughts about what we can do better in our city. I know I have an accent, and it shows. I'm an immigrant to this country. I chose to live in the West Side because it feels like home. I love my community. But when our city doesn't paint a crosswalk and 2 kids get run over because they forgot it, when our city doesn't put a stop sign near a school, when our city doesn't act with our homeless population and pits the neighbors against our homeless people, it hurts me, because I know we can do better than that. As an immigrant, I want to give back to my community. I want to help. I hope to be the first ever Latino elected to this district. Shocking here, but I hope to bring solutions. Look at my website, solutions.
Okay. Mr. Swaby, the final minute is yours.
I would also like to thank our sponsors and Channel 4 for hosting this debate tonight. I think this is fantastic exposure. You've seen some great candidates, and thank you all for participating. Experience is what sets me apart. You're going to have to make a choice in the coming days and coming weeks. And for 3 years, I spent almost every Tuesday afternoon in City Council chambers, not at their formal meeting, at their work session, to try and understand how they think, what the issues are, and how things get done in Salt Lake City. I would often have staffers come to me and say, "Hey, Nigel, you can look at this on TV, you can look at this on YouTube." And I said, "Yeah, but I wouldn't get the chance to talk to you." And I have learned so much in the last 3 years. I grew up on the West Side. I am a product of the West Side. I see the potential of the West Side, and I would love your #1 vote.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. This week, we here at ABC4 are hosting several debates for the Salt Lake City Council seats up for election on the ballot this year. Tomorrow at 7 on the CW30 right here, we'll have candidates for Salt Lake City District 5 right here in the studio to debate the issues. District 5 runs from I-15 to 1300 East and from 900 to 2100 South. It includes the Ballpark, Liberty Wells, and Liberty Park neighborhoods. This debate was brought to you tonight in part by the Other Side Academy, the Pioneer Park Coalition, and the Salt Lake Chamber of Commerce. I want to thank the 4 gentlemen in this race tonight for being here and engaging in this very important community dialogue. These local elections are so important. Your city council impacts your life probably more than you realize. So make sure you get that ballot and you fill it out. Election day is Tuesday, November 2nd. You may already have the ballot now. Again, a reminder, this is ranked choice voting. So in this race, you will have 5 choices, and you rank those by your preference, and then the winner will be declared after getting 50% of the vote. We want to thank you again for being here with us tonight. We'll see you again at 10.
Homelessness has overwhelmed our city and community. My name is Joseph Grenny, and I am part of a team in partnership with Salt Lake City that has decided to help hundreds come off the streets of Utah and not only find a permanent home, but create a new and better way of life. We invite you to join this movement and help us build the Other Side Village. The Village will be a beautiful, secure, and self-reliant neighborhood for the most vulnerable of Salt Lake's homeless, including those with mental and physical challenges. The Village will be a state-of-the-art example of how to help the homeless by providing affordable and permanent housing inside a vibrant community, offering both meaningful employment and easily accessible social and healthcare services. Unlike traditional solutions to homelessness, we'll be applying principles of self-reliance, peer accountability, and connectedness to the Village. This endeavor will be a model in the United States for how to address homelessness in sustainable ways that transform lives and our cities. Join us. To learn how to become part of this life-changing place, visit us at theothersidevillage.com.